Hello there, everyone. Can everyone see me? If there is anyone. Excellent. I think I can invite you in your cam. You're logged in? You're logged in? Can't see you. Chat le 5 viewers. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the open talk on permaculture. I hope my voice is clear. Can everybody see me? Is the camera working? Is the mic working? Can you hear me? Oh. Nice. I can see Sai Kalyan, Yuva Pratap, Anil Shanai being there. Gardens of Abundance. Sai is here. Hi there, everyone. There is a slight lag in, as always, there is a slight lag in me being able to see the comments, you hearing what I say. There's a slight lag. Barring from that, I think it's working. Anil Shanai is asking there is some background noise. Is there background noise? Is going good? Awesome. All right. Here we go. Okay, what shall we talk about in permaculture? Everybody that seems to be here, Anil Shana, I know, Sai is there, Sai Kalyan. Yuva Pratap is here. He has seen Sai's class, online introduction to permaculture. So I think most of the people here have got an introduction to permaculture. Now, in today's open talk, why I'm doing this, I'm a bit free during this time. Therefore, I just thought I would put up this online discussion, online talk, where we can chat with each other. Maybe I can answer some questions that people might have. So that is the idea about setting this up. So officially, let me welcome you all and fire away with your questions. In the meanwhile, before the questions start arriving, let me talk a little bit about what's happening here. Hmm, things are going on fine. We are preparing for the upcoming PDC. We are setting up the accommodation for students that are arriving. We are setting up who is to cook, what kind of food, what's the menu, what produce we're going to get from our own gardens in time for each day. So that is happening. A few hands-on examples are being tested. Mulch is being gathered for a compost pile to be set up during the PDC for various compost piles and different methods that we're going to go through during the PDC. I'm also trying to work out a few models of energy devices. I'm not going to say that we are ready there. We are building models of water heaters and solar panels and this and that. Lots of good ideas happening around. So we're testing that out. Sai and Upendra, who are Sai for all practical purposes, is teaching uh, his first PDC. He has participated in the last PDC. He has given one session. He spoke in one session regarding water, but he's going around making his notes, preparing his slides. We are downloading important images, setting up Google Earth to show the students what we are talking about. As you know, PDC is about making designers. Bill Mollison says, we do not teach you how to do it. We teach you what to do and why to do it. That's what Bill says in one of the Global Gardener videos. And PDC is all about that. We make designers, and once you're through a PDC, you should be able to design a farm, a house, a factory for that matter, or a highway system, or a bridge for that matter. Design a bridge, not actually construct a bridge. For that we need lots and lots of engineers, but we'll be able to do all of that anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter where you put us. You take us to the polar ice cap, we can come up with the right kind of thoughts to be able to do it, to be able to create a garden there, to be able to create a house there, to be able to create a school there. Just an example, one of the I heard it a few minutes ago from Mr. G.V. Rao, my Rao uncle, as we call him. He was talking about how the oil containers, the place where oil reserves are held in India, the place, the office, the tanks, and all those things are constructed right by the side of the port in Vizag. The place where recently the cyclone hit, Hudhud. That's where they put the tanks, very near to the sea. Now, is that we were talking about whether that's the right choice for the place, because it costed a bombshell because they built it right by the side of the sea. Stabilization was a problem. India had the technology to build stuff inland, but we did not have the technology to build it by the sea, by the side of the sea. So the contract was given to L&T, the American company that constructed the Hoover Dam, and those guys came in, took truckloads of cash and built a tanker there, and now they have built it in a strategically disadvantageous position. I mean, in case of an emergency or a war, and for the brutal world that we live in, for a terror strike, um, out of the many targets, a port will be one. And on the eastern seaboard, it's one of the hottest places. Even in the last Pakistan war, Kargil war, there was a submarine that was ready to bomb Vizag, the port in Vizag, the airport in Vizag. And you put your all your oil storage for the country right where it could be, it is vulnerable. That's a bad choice of design. That's not the place where you'll put it. So everything from deciding upon where to put what on a scale of the country to what to put in your backyard, which plant to put where, all of that, the placement, a purposeful placement of elements in a given environment is design. and there has to be a purpose for where we plant our trees, why we put our gardens. It's not about the very tiny details um, all the time. Yeah, we will get to the very tiny details at our own leisure, but it's the critically important ones that we design. So that's you can see that the lack of design thinking, how far it can go. And considering the damage that has happened in Vizag, lots of trees, lots of plantations went crashing because of the cyclone. I am very, very sad for what has happened. And of course, for things of that magnitude, you can only be defensive in your strategies. And with permaculture, we can certainly safeguard things to a certain extent. But one of the ways in which a permaculturist thinks is that the problem is the solution. Now there has been a problem, it has been a tragedy, but the tragedy is over. We are left with lots of dead branches and biomass, and I would like to know what people are doing with it. That's I see that the current scenario in Vizag provides an opportunity to rebuild, to redesign farms, to make them more resilient, to make them less susceptible to cyclones, to create the diversity for the farmers so that even if they lose a few trees, they don't lose everything they have. Uh, what to do with all the rubble? Power lines went down. Now they are going to put poles back in the same way. They are going to dig a pit, put some concrete, and put a electricity line in a cyclone prone area. Or is there any other strategy? How much how much of the pressure can be taken up by each individual person so that the society can be resilient as a whole? What is the people system that we can employ? What are the NGOs that we can talk to? What are the government agencies that we can talk to? Whether we can talk to them or not, how many of those people are aware of the design possibilities? That is what worries me most. That is what captures me most. And that puts this whole thing in perspective, the importance of having a lot of designers all around the place. Anyway, enough rambling. um, let's see if there are any questions. Anil Shanai asks, any of your older PDC students implementing ideas at a farm? Absolutely. One of my students, Srinu, it's called Srinu, Ali Srinivas. I think Anil Shana, you know him. He went to his farm and started the work. It was clayey, it was acidic, there was no water, and that land belonged to his relatives who were fully pegged into inorganic agriculture. So this guy talked to them. We had terrible monsoon, but they did set up a polyculture system. He worked with the farmers there, started training them, but he could only do only that much with fresh talent, so to say. So they put in some rows of corn along with some intercropping and stuff like that, and slowly they are educating the farmers there. But the results have been promising. Lots of beneficial insects. Even when the monsoon failed, lots of beneficial insects appeared on the farm. They had a terrible corn harvest. The corn cobs did not become really big because there was no rain whatsoever, no water. Still, because of the way things were planted and stuff like that, there was enough protection from the wind, etc. That cobs did form, and there was seed in the cobs. So in a true permaculture spirit, the cobs were harvested. He gave me 200 cobs, which I shared with the community here. And the cobs are dried up, and now they are being distributed as seeds to the other farmers and for the next season themselves. So that's happening there. Dayakar Reddy is another student who is in Nellore, um, who wanted to start working on his farm, but because of the overuse of fertilizers, he is more in biogas. Last time I heard from him, his soil pH was 8.5, and there's paddy cultivation that went on there. So he's kind of looking to do it step by step. They are implementing that. Jyoti Deshpande, she also took Jeff Lawton's PDC after she took my PDC. She is designing her farm. Yeah, Sai, Gardens of Abundance, he has picked up a land. He's on the verge of picking up a land himself, not buying it, of course, but leasing it out from friends and family, paying them the normal lease amount. They were anyways leasing it out to some inorganic farmers. So Sai is picking up a land for lease from some of the friends of friends and trying to set it up as a permaculture example in and around Kurnool, Podutur, actually, a place called Podutur. Yeah, it's happening. Let's see. I have taken a small farm and lease to convert it into a permaculture farm, as Sai says. Yeah. Anil Shanai says, looking to do an internship with a PDC, but I'm finding farms lacking in terms of promise to implement design ideas. I really don't. I really don't understand what you meant when they were lacking promise. It's the age-old question. There are these people who say that you need to sit on a farm for a couple of years or a year or through all seasons to really understand how water flows, and only then you can design the farm. True or false? The answer always depends. It depends. The speed with which you want to establish a system, the key elements that you need to place in a system, the kind of data you need to collect for that. If you go through the permaculture design manual, there is a whole section on this. There's a section on transition. There's a transition from an inorganic farm or a barren farm to a productive system. It takes a certain amount of time. That said, you don't start off 1 year down the line. When you are pitching your tent, where are you going to get your water from? Are you going to get it in the ecologically friendly way? Or are you going to buy groceries? No. You would sit down with your contour maps. You would design where you would pitch your tent. You would design where your garden will be, and you would think of how you would water your garden, and you would design that establishment. That's called establishment part of the design. And there are all these different ways of doing it. For example, Bill Mollison, the first thing he would do on most places is to set up what he used to call an instant garden. One of the first things we set up is a nursery. One of the first things we set up is good water harvesting systems. We look at problems that are existing and we try to remediate those problems. For example, erosion control, etc. You don't need to sit on a land for a year to understand that. I mean, if you don't understand that outright, probably you need to sit for 12 days with a good in a good PDC to understand that. That's what it is. This understanding that permaculture is a practical way to approach things in an earth friendly way, in a people friendly way, and in a systemic way is what is lost to most people. For example, one of the first things we do when we look at a farm is look at the people systems on the farm. It's not just the soil, it's not just the water. We look at how many workers do you have? How much time does the worker spend on the farm? What are the existing people systems? Is the owner going to come there every day? He's going to work on his own, or is he going to go set up a farm manager? We start from that point of view. That is another element we take into consideration when designing stuff. We need to look at the right pattern of work. We don't want a person, just because it is eco-friendly to use a hand shovel, keeps on digging a swale forever. No, you will design it based on the requirements and based on the energy audit. We make an energy audit. You want to set up a cement, concrete, reinforced that uses a lot of petrol and metal. You want to set up a check dam. If it provides enough output over its lifetime to be able to justify its presence, then it's a good design element, and then it has to fit into the investment plan. The farmer might not be there to put all the money required for 10 ponds. We don't get loans for permaculture projects outright. So we go it step by step. For example, in my own project, I went just with swales and building mulch, because when we were planting fruit trees, we could not get enough mulch. We wanted to set up no-till gardens. There was no mulch. There was not enough mulch for compost. That was the way the farm was. So one of the first things is set up swales, set up green manure, good green manure plants there. Now they are huge. They are 10 feet tall right now, each of the green manure plants, and they are still going, bonkers. And we planted fruit trees within them, and the fruit trees are doing amazing, even with no watering, as anybody who understands swales knows. So that's basically the way we do it. So if you want to do an internship, Anil, you have two choices. You also need to think of how long do you want to spend with them. Is it 4 weeks internship you are looking at? Then you should look at a fully set up farm, which in India, there is hardly any, because we started late. It takes time for systems to mature and new resources to come up there. It's one thing to say chicken tractor is a good idea. It's another thing to say when a chicken tractor is a good idea in the establishment of a farm. There's no point in having a few chicken when you cannot collect the eggs on a regular basis or change the water on a regular basis. Many people do not stay on farms. That's not our culture. That's not the way things are right now. Yeah, moving to the farm is a good idea, but it has to fit with your own people system. Once again, if you have older people who require access to the hospital on an emergency, then maybe that's not a good idea to go into a far off farm. So it's a slow thing. So if you want to do an internship, there are two ways. You can either do a long internship, go stay there hands on, put your work in along with the people there for a year or two. Then you'll be learning how to establish a permaculture farm. If you're looking at something like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, go find an established permaculture farm. Now, farm internship is one thing. Farms are not the world. There are schools, there are hospitals, there are villages, and there is no internship for permaculture as it applies to schools. There is no internship out there that I know of for permaculture as it applies to apartments. Now, much of the work that is required is on the urban front, because that's where the damage is happening a lot. It's not the farms are on a part of the equation. Uh, and the urban side of things, looking beyond gardens, we need to think very carefully about what we're doing. If everyone, say in Hyderabad or in Bangalore, buys all the tools required to do gardening, how much metal is that? How much plastic is that? Is there a better way we can produce that, we can maintain that, or is it a long one time investment that everybody makes? If it is going to serve a couple of generations, there's no harm in buying all your farm tools. But if it's not so, can we come up with more eco-friendly solutions? Can we make connections? Well, so all this stuff beyond the farm still does not have any internships. And from the point of view of permaculture itself, rather than from the point of view of DJ or Anil, the work is out there everywhere, in villages, in farms. I know you're interested in farms and growing food, so you should probably look at places where they're giving internship. That's how things are happening. So I hope I talked something that makes sense. Um, let me see. Yeah, that's the same one we put swales in. Let me see. Yeah, I can see that the farm guy mismanaging the farm happens to us all the time. In fact, that's what happened in Chevella, my permaculture project. The Mr. Reddy, the owner of the farm, hired a farm manager, and the farm manager, the farm hand, the boy, the person there is supposed to water the seedlings and mulch them. So every day the owner is to used to call the person, and that person would say he is doing it. But we came to know that for more than 1 month, that guy was absent. He was somewhere else, telling his owner that he was on the farm working. The owner, of course, was not feeling good, so he could not visit the farm himself. So he had to trust it. He lost quite a lot of fruit tree saplings. And add to that, cows came in and ate ate away a lot of nitrogen fixers. So farm hands screwing things up, absolutely. Owner screwing it up, absolutely, that happens too. Anilshan, another question. There is a farm which has been using chemicals. What is the best way to get soil health back, to neutralize chemicals and make the best use of it? Very good question. Very good question. Most of the stuff, DAP and other pesticides and fertilizers, they are designed to they're designed in such a way that the plants take it up, right? And plants do take it up. When you want to clean a room, say you have got 10 soda cans lying all around the place, that place is contaminated with pet bottles and soda cans. What are the soda cans designed for? They are designed to be picked up, right, by hand or by a machine. Similarly, the DAPs and the residual pesticides, the non-residual pesticides, they are made in such a way that the plants take them up. So one of the best ways to do it is to find plants that can take that stuff up and lock it in biology. For example, petroleum spill, you use sunflower. Uh, I have a list. I don't have it in here because mm, there is too much stuff to keep in here. It is more situational. If they, for example, phosphorus and stuff like that, you can easily neutralize by getting the soil biology by using compost teas, well made compost tea. You can, Dr. Learningham, I am learning the soil side of things from her even now. She has done amazing job with just the right kind of compost teas. She made excellent compost teas that neutralized pesticides, that controlled pests, that controlled diseases, get the soil back in shape. You good biology in there. That is the safest and best way to get things back. You can use the extraction method, that is putting in plants that will extract all the surplus from the soil and you compost it. That's the best way to deal with it. Now, if you want the fastest way to deal with it, you want a slow way to deal with it. What is the timeline? What is the amount of labor? What is the amount of investment that we can put in terms of labor or money or equipment, will dictate which method we select. Keep on growing good stuff, it will get neutralized. You wait long enough, it will get leached out. uh, you get good compost spray every 15 days, every 1 week on the soil, on the plants, and keep giving good food for the right soil biology as mulch and other stuff, other methods. Yeah, you can neutralize pesticides quite fast. In as little as 6 months, we can do that. uh, we might have to till the land extensively during the time if the concentrations are too high, just to get the biology established. We might not have to. It all depends on the land, soil, the existing contaminants, and the labor and investment that we are ready to make. Based on that, we can design a solution to restitute land from DAP and other stuff. Mm, right. Little petty wheat. I hope I'm pronouncing your name fine. You asked a great question. How do you think permaculture can best address local food poverty situation? Right. Um, Food poverty or lack of food happens because of several reasons. It's not just production of food, it's also distribution of food. So permaculture addresses it in both ways. We obviously need to grow food locally, but how much of the inputs required to produce food locally are ecologically sustainable is a question that permaculture asks, which other forms of farming do not. For example, organic farming does not ask where it gets its manure from, whether it's sustainable or not, uh, and whether one can do it in a city or not. We, for example, on our rooftop gardens use coco peat. Is that sustainable? Out where we are staying, it's a waste product that is coming out of the coir industry, which is, whose input is all the coconuts that are broken in the temples. So for us, it's a beautiful resource usage to use that coco peat as a base for our soils. Some other place, some other solution. Some places maybe it is hydroponics and aquaponics. I don't like hydroponics that much. Yeah, aquaponics, soil less agriculture, maybe that's a solution. If you look at some really good example farms like Zaytuna by Jeff Lawton, you'll see that he has a garden bed that is aquaponics, he has a garden bed that is something else, and drip irrigation and this and that. The reason is that for various situations and various people, various methods of production are required, various methods of distribution are required. um, can we design roads to produce food? Yes, we can. Can we design windows to produce food? Yes, we can. But are the people ready to grow food? Can we educate them properly? Yes, we can. So, permaculture, being a design system, when we approach, say, a gated community or a slum for that matter, it's not just the soil we look at, it's not just the garden space that we look at. We look at the people. Is there a handful of young kids there who can climb up trees and get down fruits? That really gives an advantage in terms of putting up tall trees. uh, do they have hand pulled rickshaws, hand pulled trolleys? Maybe they can go to the outskirts of the city, which they anyways go to get their firewood, and start cultivating there and on the roadsides, because they don't have garden space. Maybe they have garden space. So maybe we look at getting other people to donate containers for the slums, seeds for the slums, etc. So it's a, but once you do that, what's the guarantee that the people will actually grow food and share it among themselves? Where are they going to get the water required? There is this, this stuff like, we'll use Panchagavya. Now, in Hyderabad, one of the places it's available is um, in Emerald House somewhere. There's a place called Emerald House, near Emerald House. It's available, but you can't expect all the slum people to go there and buy it. We need to teach them how to make it. If they can get cattle and cow manure and all of that, we will teach them alternatives also, other compost teas and plant exudate teas and this and that. I personally can make 8 or 9 different types of liquid addendums to the soil. I don't call them fertilizers because they do not stand up to the strict definition of a fertilizer. They are more biological activators. We do that, we teach that. Once we start thinking about it systematically, only then can we solve the problem of lack of food. And not so surprisingly, lack of food is not just an equation with poverty. Some of the richest people out there do not have food, do not have good food. They are having junk and calling it food. They're killing their babies. They're slowly poisoning their own children by feeding them all kinds of nonsense. And they need to be taught how to grow food as much as the people in the slums. So we look at it systemically. We look at it as a city, as a community, as a individual house, and who is going to garden in the house. There are techniques. Raised beds are there, and a lot of techniques. Container gardening is there. They will be tailored for those places, and that's the only way we can solve the hunger of the world. Because one of the first things that happened to me is, once the first time I planted a snake gourd. I hope all of you know snake gourd. It's a nice vegetable. I planted one seed, and I actually planted 5 6 seeds, and we got hundreds of snake gourds. I mean, the harvest was mind boggling. There are photos of that on Facebook. We got fed up of snake gourds. That's how much we got. And that really made me question why there is hunger in the world. And the answer is distribution. Distribution. A few years ago, the world record for grain production was broken. Yet, the the hunger remains. Uh, can everybody see me? All right. So, you know what? The food production is not a problem. How the food is produced is a problem. How it is distributed is a problem. Biofuel, biodiesel in UK is killing the grains. You know, people adding biodiesel. It's a rule there, it seems, and that takes away so much from the cereal production in the world. Then there comes the pigs and the cows and all that stuff that is required to, you know, feed all the McDonald's and KFCs. That is taking up a lot of grain. We broke the world cereal growing record a couple of years ago, and the number of hungry people was also very, very high. So unless we come up with permaculture thinking, whatever name you put to it, unless we come up with a holistic systemic thinking, we cannot solve any of the problems we are facing. So for the question that you asked, how can permaculture best solve it? By being permaculture. We do it right on every level, we will solve the problem. No question of that. For that, we need a lot of designers. We need a lot of teachers going around the place and teaching. That's the first requirement, particularly in India, where there are not many places where you get a holistic outview, outlook for this. We need more people teaching and more people listening and learning. Sudhiranjan Mandal says permaculture is more applicable for larger spaces. No, permaculture is applicable everywhere, because permaculture is not a set of rules. It is not a set of methods. For small scale, we will start at the chalkboard. We'll get back to the design board. We'll look at the resources. We'll make the best connections and come up with solutions. For large spaces, same is the case. For tiny spaces, same is the case. It's the way we think. Just like mathematics or arithmetic or algebra, the rules apply and the principles apply, the methodologies apply at the appropriate scale. You have trigonometry that is applicable to certain things. You have calculus that is applicable in certain situations, but mathematics as a whole is applicable everywhere. Permaculture is like mathematics. That's how Bill Mollison envisioned it. Do we have solutions for everything in the world? No. Can we design them? Yes. Does it take time? Yes. But can we? Absolutely. The design thinking that is required, the methodology, what do we do when we look at a place, when we look at a problem? How do we break it down? We break it down by inputs, we break it down by existing resources, we look at yields, we create patterns, we analyze patterns of flow of various stuff, and then the solution starts to present itself. The problem really gets defined, and then we find the requirements to provide a solution, and that's the way we go about it. And it is applicable in a tiny space as much as it is applicable in a large space. I personally understand that certain of the technologies, certain of the methods that are shown in the name of permaculture are applicable only for large scale. Certain techniques are applicable only in the small scale. Herb spiral is a classic example. It works best in a small space. But those are just techniques. It's how people came up with those ideas is the point. In a PDC, that's what we teach. How did people come up with the idea of a swale? How did people come up with the idea of a herb spiral, banana circle? So that we can come up with our own solutions for every unique situation that we come up with. It's a thinking that's required, and it's a thinking that we need to learn, not just the techniques. So, I hope I answered uh, little petty wheats question there. And Sudhiranjan Mandal's comment. Uh, what other question is there? Spin farming. Yeah, for small spaces. Spin farming is a spin-off of permaculture ideas as applied to certain situations. Yes, it does work. Yeah, for local food banks, gardens are the best solution. But if like what you see in Hyderabad, where people are pumping out lots of water from the ground to water the gardens, and then come summer they don't have water to drink. Now that is not a sustainable food bank. uh, Backyard gardens, I mean, how you do backyard gardening matters. That's what I mean, really. We definitely need local food production, I am not contending that, but how we do that production is very important. um, there are beautiful solutions out there. uh, how many of you know about the saltwater farm in Australia? Seawater farm, people farming with seawater. Anyways, there's a lag there. There is a farm in Australia where they are taking seawater, pumping it appropriately, through two pipes in such a way that there's a temperature gradient, and the temperature gradient is making condensation possible on the pipes. Atmospheric humidity condensing on pipes and then dripping as a drip irrigation system. They are doing it. It's a proven concept. A similar concept is being done in Rajasthan, where salt water from bore wells. Oh my goodness! Yeah, salt water from bore wells is being pumped through pipes, which are cooled down, and then there is condensation on the pipes, which drips down for plants. So that's how did people come up with that idea? How did people come up with that idea is the question. That's what we want to learn. It's not how they did that one example. We know how they did it. They used principles of physics. Permaculture uses principles of physics, principles of biology, principles of ecology, principles of pattern language. That's what they do, which means they are using salt water, but not putting salt water on the land. They are using it to cool down pipes so that there is condensation from the atmosphere. The sea, right by the side of the ocean, there is so much moisture in the air that you can condense and grow pretty good crops with just the ambient moisture available, ambient humidity available. And they are doing that. They are doing great stuff. That's a good idea. There are tons of ideas like that, millions. We just need to look around. We just need to look at the what is the requirement, and we just need to follow. So for gardening to work, we need to look at what a garden requires. It requires people, it requires water, definitely, and we have to take care of all those things as well as the requirement of for other things. Solar panels. Do we put solar panels on our rooftops, or do we put gardens on our rooftops? We don't ever want to end up in such a place where there's a competition between those two. We just need to design our houses and places in such a way that we can do things the best way we can, and design things so that they function in the best way. So it's not just gardens, but the whole thing needs to be designed, the distribution patterns, etc., the wastage recycling, all of that. Oh, by the way, when people talk about food, it is one thing to eat saltless, oilless food. It is one thing to just look at veggies and calories and carbohydrates. But there is dairy, there is baby foods, there are foods that are good for people who are elderly, There are medicinal plants. We need local medicinal gardens. We need local meat and fish production. If people are willing to partake of non-vegetarian diet, we need to integrate all of that. We need to integrate the smells of it. We need to integrate the temperatures of it. And we need to think of all the pollutants from all the vehicles landing on your green leaves on your rooftop. We need to understand how to deal with that and where we are staying and all of that. Okay. um, Yuva Pratap, there was a friend who started gardening from vegetables in the backyard. He was getting seed. Yeah, that's a good one. I have a question: whether vegetables which are grown from the seeds are organic or not? Oh, yeah. Even if a seed is not organic, the produce you get from it is organic. There are no two things about it. But genetically modified foods are a different ball game altogether. Uh, so, barring genetically modified nonsense, I think that is pure nonsense, right from the idea all the way to the implementation. That whole idea is a big nonsense. Other than that, yeah, your plant is good even if you bought seeds online. But be careful, they are poison coated. If you ask me, I prefer local, uh, n- organically treated seeds rather than the poison treated seeds, if at all possible. But if you are not getting that, not a problem. You can use normal seeds. The biology in your soil will neutralize it sooner than later if you are growing organically and if you are doing the best practices. Now, don't even think about putting pesticides in your backyard, right? It's not just going to affect you, all your neighbors, and if kids are there, they are going to get affected. Don't even think of spraying nonsense on rooftop gardens. Please do make sure that the garden is organic. That's what that's I think is the minimum amount of safety we need to look at when we are doing gardening in an urban scenario where people are living in close quarters. Yeah, hybrid seeds should be all right. Should There should not be much of a problem. But your friend will soon find out that most hybrid seeds are designed for a particular condition and for particular pesticide application. They don't give that good crop, and you are missing out on the diversity. Have you eaten a white tomato? Have you eaten a black mirchi? That's the question. When you are doing gardening, you know, have all the fun. If your friend just gets into the appropriate circles, like Facebook pages, like Permaculture Back to Roots that Anil Shana maintains, or Gardens of Abundance that Sai maintains, your friend can easily talk to people who will share their seeds of beautiful varieties of veggies that he can grow. And once he tastes that stuff, he'll not be buying stuff from hybrid seeds anymore. So, oh yeah, zero energy buildings or zero maintenance buildings, definitely they can be designed. But zero energy homes, there's a difference. You can build a building that is zero energy, but you can put a really stupid person inside that building who will make the whole world a stinking pile of pollution by his practices. Right? We want people to change, we want their food to change, we want their water to change, we want their electricity to change, we want their clothes to change. Then we need cloth gardens, gardens that give us cotton, gardens that give us wool, pastures. We need to find there's a cloth being made out of bamboo. There is a fabric being made out of rocks and pet bottles, which acts just like leather, but it is permanently recyclable, and it's pure mineral, and it's fireproof, and it lasts a long time, and it doesn't smell when you wear those. They're using it to make shoes, and when you wear those shoes, the shoes don't stink. So it's a whole gamut, books, TVs, LCDs, laptops. We need to design the whole thing on a systemic basis. Yeah, but as your Pratap was saying, it is, we can do a good zero energy building, quite simply. Yeah, I think I've gone through the questions that have been given so far. Since there are no new questions there, let me go on a little bit of a rant again. Let me see. All right, here is a question. Are there permaculture failures? That's Yeah, there are permaculture failures because of failure in design, because of failure in application, because of failure in the technology chosen. Are they catastrophic? No. What do we call a permaculture failure? Uh, if it is a type 1 error, it causes a lot of damage. The people have done that. I mean, uh, Darren Doherty says he has spoiled more than 1,000 acres and he had to go back and fix it during design because of an unknown quantity. I'll tell you one of my own failures. I put up these beautiful swales in Chevilla, and I went there a couple of weeks ago. Actually, Sai went there, and we found out that the owner dug a trench right through the series of swales. He put a trench to, to put in a pipeline all through. Now the swale is supposed to stop the water, spread the water, soak the water, and it was functioning beautifully. But just to put a pipeline, a straight canal down the slope was dug by the owner of the property to put in pipes. And water was going out of the property, and we went there and we were scratching our heads. It's a simple thing to fix. It's not costly. That's the way we design stuff. When we understand the design beyond the techniques, we know what to do. Generally, we don't. There is nothing that goes drastically bad in a permaculture situation. It can't, if you think about it, if you design it properly. If you only look at a video on YouTube and go do stuff and call it permaculture, yep, there is a chance things could go bunk. For example, what is the difference between tropical soils and temperate soils? What is the difference between the basic structure of a forest that's around Hyderabad, and how is it different from that in Bangalore, in the Western Ghats? We need to understand the different types of forests. It's not just, you know, plant a legume and plant a fruit tree and support species and chop and drop. That's just not it. It doesn't cut it. That's not the way it. That's not the way it works. Excuse me, just received a phone call. Not going to take it, of course. I'm in a meeting. Yeah. Uh, it will, even if you put it, you'll end up with a lot of biomass. You're not going to kill anybody with a bad design in permaculture. But when you go larger scale, when you put a big swale, when you put a pond, or when you listen to stupid advice that sounds like you need to wait for 3 years on your land before you do anything in permaculture, that's a stupid advice, by the way. A pretty stupid one. uh, Bill Morrison shouted at somebody doing that, giving that kind of an advice himself. It's a stupid advice. It's not like that. You don't need to stay on a farm for 3 years and do nothing. You keep on doing it. Your design keeps maturing. Yes, you will take big decisions only after staying for a couple of years, but that's more of a design evolution. You don't you don't start designing after 3 years. That's People don't understand the time stacking in permaculture, and yeah, that's a mistake. If everybody in the world right now sits on their farms pitching tents looking at how water flows for the next 3 years, that's a bad thing that could happen to the society. But permaculture failures are more like that, more because of the designer's incapability, more because of the implementation part of it. But nobody dies. We don't do stuff that damage society. You can't do go wrong. There's a paragraph in Permaculture Design Manual that says permaculture is based on principles, not rules. When you break rules, you get punished, but when you break principles, you learn. So permaculture is essentially based on principles. Now, if you don't follow principles, if you don't design, then you are not really doing permaculture. You are probably using a technique, and you can go wrong by wrong use of technique, or using the technique wrongly. Either way, there is a chance of going wrong. But all in all, if you want to do permaculture in your village, in your town, in your farm, there is not, it doesn't go wrong. There's no problem. Probably you'll have less harvest, less yield, and that's about it. That's what it is. Nothing big happens. Let me see if oh, so yeah, Sudhiranjan ji is suggesting Earthship. Yeah, Earthship is building is essentially related to building your houses using garbage. It has been pioneered by one person called the Garbage Warrior. It is one way to build zero energy earth houses. Usually, they are not the best ones. Um, their purpose is different. Their purpose kind of limits them. They are a good way. They are not a bad idea at all. They are a good way to dispose of waste, but they do have inherently a lot of problems. For example, using tires in your walls. Yeah, better to put them in your walls than elsewhere. But if you don't do it in the right climate, right environment, and on the right side of your building, and do not, get your soil mix right, you are going to end up with toxic fumes that come out of the walls and suffocate you during the night, because you did not think of the R value and the breathability and which direction the wall will breathe when it is exhausting harmful stuff. So some earth buildings have gone really wrong because they were not applied appropriately to the climate and the geology and the people that are there. But it's a great idea, by the way. There are I can think of 54. Right now it's only 45. I need to revise my list, but about 40 45 different types of zero energy houses that are. It's not difficult to find zero energy housing techniques. You just have to go back to an age where electricity was not there, and look at how people built houses, and look at how the houses functioned, and get that idea, come back, apply the local the recent scientific advancements to those ideas, look at the R values, look at the sun angles, look at the latest materials available. For example, for a thatched roof, a good plastic roof, if done right, will last a long time. And you can set it up to be a fireproof, and it is breathable, and it will keep the place cool. You can do it with plastic, and in some places that is what is required. For example, somebody um, in a desert situation where there is not a lot of biomass, you don't want to go for thatched roofs, too many of them. You might want to go for a plastic one. There is an application for it. Not everywhere plastic and same formula, no. You have to create reactive responsive houses. Earthship is one of them, one good way when done right, but it's not the only way. Oh yeah, I it came out wrongly. Earthship is not necessarily garbage, but it is a matter of recycling. Thank you for correcting me. It's a matter of recycling stuff. Yeah. Yes, Shiva Pratap. We need to design lives that give us comfort and fulfill our needs and necessities, but will not have bad effects on our next generation. That's what we need to do in every area. Excellent. What else? Any other questions? Anything we need to discuss? Any concepts we need to discuss? Or shall I go on a rant once again? I think we have quite some more time. We just gone through 1 hour, I think, right? Yeah, we have plenty of time to go to kill, to discuss. Let me talk of the difference between let me talk of PDC, shall I? Right. The first chapter in PDC is called, the first module is called Introduction. Introduction to Permaculture. Now, what is permaculture? I think I have repeated, Sai has repeated long enough, and everybody kind of knows, but it's a design science. It's a systemic design science to design all the systems of human habitation using ecological principles in such a way that is earth care, people care, and fair share. That's basically it. But you can't say just that one sentence for the whole day. No, we will look at specific problems that are systemic in nature. In the introduction class, what we do is we look at various problems that are there in the world and understand why they are such big problems. Where in the systemic situation have things gone wrong? How to identify the systemic problems? That's what introduction chapter is starts to give you. On that day, we take, for example, things like lack of food, things like lack of water, good housing. We'll start considering various problems of the world. For example, soil erosion, soil building, climate, this, that. And that points us right to the fundamental problem, which is the individual. As all great philosophies, permaculture comes back to the individual and the performance of the individual, and it ends up pointing out ethics. We start talking about ethics, and then we start talking about the principles of permaculture, principles of nature. They are actually principles of nature, but as applied to design. For example, there is a principle that says everything gardens, which means every organism tries to create a habitat for itself. Now, as humans, we can disrupt that, or as humans, we can work with that. Can we work with that? Is the question. What is the right way to go about it? So all that kind of stuff happens in the first day, where we introduce people to Bill Mollison, to permaculture, to the various books, to a few examples, to a lot of problems, and towards a lot of solutions. The second day, let me see if there are any questions. Oh, Sudhiranjan Mandal writes about gabions. Oh yeah, you want me to talk about gabions? Right, we'll get back to that. Now, on the second day, we talk of concepts in permaculture. This is huge. The chapter on concepts and themes in design in permaculture design manual is a great starting point, and it's an ocean of ideas, to build on. The concept of a yield, the concept of a resource. Usually in textbooks, we are taught that there are two types of resources, renewable and non-renewable resources. But as permaculturists, we look at resources in with a 6 division, 6 different types in one sense, 3 different types in another sense. We understand that we have to look at resources differently for every different situation based on design. For example, there are resources that do extremely well if you use them more and more. If you keep on using them, they'll keep on becoming better and better. There are lots of examples for this. If you keep on wearing that leather jacket long enough, it is going to fit you more cozily. as time goes by. Um, Gardens are a good example. You have to keep on using them, keep on doing the gardening in the right way, and you will keep on improving your garden every year. It's a resource that improves when people use it, and it reduces when people don't use it. There are resources um, that knowledge is another example. The more you use it, the more it grows, the more you distribute it. There are resources that do not bother whether you use them or not. They don't increase nor decrease based on usage. Can anyone name, not my PDC students, not Sai, but anyone else here, name a resource that does not change based on whether you use it or not? Neither increases nor decreases, neither it harms anything nor it gets harmed. So I repeat the question. Can you name a few resources that do not change whether you use them or not? See. I think there's too much lag and I'm waiting here for ages for the answer. No, nobody's giving any answers. Let me give you an example. Shade, shadow, shade of your building. That's a resource. You sit under it, your shade will not increase or decrease. The building will give the same amount of shade. You don't sit under it, the shade is there. You sit under it, the shade is there. Shade is one of those resources that just lies around. That's the way we look at resource. Not many people looks at shade as a resource. Oh, what can we do with shade? Come on, DJ, what can we do with shade? There are so many things that love shade. A vermicompost bin. You cannot have a good vermicompost bin in open sun. You need either a tarpaulin to shade it or a tree to shade it. You need appropriate shade. If you have a tree that is giving you shade, you have got one input ready for your warm bin, vermicompost bin. It's a way we look at the whole thing, you know. Shade is not equal. During the day, different times of the day, the shade changes place. When the sun goes to the north, the shade is on the south. When the sun goes to the south, the shade is on the north, Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. Based on that, we design systems. You can, if you have an already established lemon plantation or something, you can set it up in such a way that underneath the lemons, there is a vermicompost production, a row of vermicompost production happening in the shade of a lemon on one side during one half of the year, and on the other side the other half of the year, and you can alternate growing intercrops. You can have vermicompost production on one side of the lemon plants, and the next year you'll plant vegetable crop there. You can design stuff like that, where you have a warm tractor. We do any kind of tractors, not just chicken tractor. We do earthworms. You can do that. That's the way we think of shades. Where will your buffalo sit during summer? Underneath a tree, right? What if you give it only that much shade so that you can dictate where it sits? That's a nice idea. You can make your cow sit in different places. throughout the year by designing the element that gives shade. Fun stuff. So resources, we look at it very differently. We look at edges, the edge. We look at time stacking. We look at cycles. We look at niches. We look at weeds. We look at basics of soil. We look at basics of improving the current technologies and scenarios. All those things we look at in the concepts module, the second module. Now that I have a couple of questions out there, one is rainwater harvesting and gabions. Let me quickly answer that before I talk about the third module. Rainwater harvesting. That's another topic I really love. I think everybody here knows the water cycle. Of course, everybody knows the water cycle. From water bodies, water vapor is taken up, goes in the form of clouds and falls on the land and comes as rivers back into the sea. We all read that in our textbooks when we were kids. But let's look at it a little bit more accurately. Each plant transpires 40 to 50% of all the water it takes on an average temperature day, and on hot days it can transpire up to 150% of its normal intake. It can take more water and expire it as water vapor. Now remember this, people. Boiling point of water is 100 degrees. You want to take a bottle of water and convert it into water vapor, you can do it at 100 degrees. But plants take 40% of all the water and convert it into water vapor every day, and at room temperature. We do that. Animals do that. It's a chemical transaction that happens where water vapor is released into the atmosphere. And most of the clouds that happen inland happen because of transpiration events. And rain happens because of temperature differentials as well as the donation of nuclei by plants. You need plant dust, you need different types of particulate matter in your atmosphere for clouds to form. That's the idea behind cloud seeding. So that is where the water is up there in the clouds. It was water once down here. Now what is a plant? What's a tree? It is a watering pipe. It's a pipe that is pulling water from the soil and into the atmosphere. In the meantime, it will store a part of it in itself. That is called biological storage. In permaculture, in a PDC, we look at various types of storages. Soil is a beautiful water storage system if you use it right. In fact, in one design suggestion, in one consultation, I suggested people to store water in the form of fruits for their garden. There was this building, and they did not have money to build tanks and stuff like that to harvest and keep rainwater. So I asked them to just drain all the water towards one corner of the property and grow pumpkins and watermelons and bananas and other plants that take up a lot of water and hold it. I gave a list of plants, and they are supposed to grow it with all the excess water that they get after they soak it into the land, into the garden, etc. All the excess water is used to grow stuff, and then it goes into banana circles and stuff like that. Then, because pumpkins can store very, very well for 6 months, I asked them to store most of the pumpkins, and come summer, I asked them to bury them in the garden, and it definitely works. I did it myself. I buried banana trunks as water for my papaya trees throughout the summer, and it works. Did I harvest rain? Yes, I did. Did I put a huge tank? No, I did not. Because if I wanted to harvest rainwater for the garden, then this is one option. So rainwater harvesting is not just about putting the pipes and putting the drains and putting tanks and no. We look at different ways in which we can hold and store water, and we look at ways of taking that water out for further consumption. Yeah, rainwater pits, harvesting pits is an idea. As people do in Rajasthan all over the place, the tanka system is there. The cisterns, you can put in cisterns, underground water tanks. You have your water sumps, you have your plastic tanks, corrugated aluminum tanks. And the best way to keep water pure is to keep it alive. Most people say don't grow anything, don't let anything grow, put some chlorine in your tank. No, 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 that's not the right approach to it. You're wasting a resource there. You have a ton of water and sitting in a tank and it's not doing anything. It's like having $1 million in your little pot in your home. Water is kind of like money. You can use it many times without spoiling it. You can use it, abuse it, and spoil it instantly too. You have a lot of water, better use it. How can you use water in a tank underneath in the ground? A lot of ways. If you can get air to get into your water tank, you can put a pipe that goes through your house onto your roof into a solar chimney. The solar chimney will get heated up, it will suck air. You can get cold air from your underground water sump into your house. We have done that, we have seen that. It is very common in Arabia. So the water inside the tank is a resource, right? So that's a permaculture way of thinking about water harvesting. It's not just about um, water barrels and stuff like that. Then we have the calculation. uh, oh, using pipes to store water in it where there are no place for pits. Absolutely. I have come up with a design where the actual walls of a house are made with pipes which contain water. It's called a pipe rack system. It is there as a technology, but not the way I designed it to function. As part of a zero energy house, I came up with a design for a poor um, slum kind of an environment where people can set things up. We can do that. But as always, I am not an expert in rainwater harvesting. Yeah, it can be used as a passive cooling system. Absolutely. It can be used as a passive cooling system. It can be used as the base level temperature maintainer for growing mushrooms. That's the way we think. Now we always look at these resources and see if we can become producers, not just consumers of resources. See if we can convert one resource into other without damaging it. We can use it as a temperature regulator to grow mushrooms. Pipe rack system. We can do that. Absolutely. Now gabions. The gab. What can I say? Uh, my I actually spoke to a few students from an engineering college a few months ago, and they were doing a presentation for a science fair, and I gave them an idea which involved swales and gabions and diversion drains and chinampas and lake system. That it was a whole watershed management plan, and the judges who came to the science fair asked this guy to explain it 3 times, to understand how it all works. And they went back, the judge called this guy back on phone and asked again how it works. And after he explained it, they got the first prize in the science fair. And people were amazed, and it was a look at how to best use water in Anantapur district, a place where the rainfall is very very less. And I just went on putting stuff that uses water again and again in a most beautiful way, where while harvesting it passively. Only excess needs to go into the soil. If you put swales all around, that's a dumb idea. In Anantapur, if you just go around building swales, there will be no water in your lakes and people will not have water to drink in villages. We need to look at that. It's not just, oh, I want to put all my water, stop, spread and soak. No, that's not permaculture, that's stupidity. Utter, pure gold grade stupidity. We don't do that. We look at the whole thing systematically, and I designed it in such a way that only the required amount of water goes into swales, the required amount of water goes as fresh water storage for people in terms of sand dams. And I used gabions as a central piece for the design, and it won first prize. Fortunately, I don't have it on my computer, otherwise I would have shared a link uh, of the design. Yeah. Yuva Pratap, you stay in Maulali and your house is located on a rocky land where bore was dug up to 650 feet, and now the water problem is there. How to overcome? Yeah, you can put up tanks. You're sitting on a rock. Actually, people who sit on a rock, you know that proverb. There is a proverb that says if people living in glass houses should not throw stones. There's another proverb: people living in stone houses should not throw glasses. Right? You are living in a stone outcrop. You're living on top of a stony outcrop, um, and every drop that falls on the stone, for example, your house is not there, where would it go? I think in Molali there's a park. If there is a park, get a couple of neighbors or somebody else, get them to talk, and probably you can have a community water storage system. That seems like a better idea, because as far as I remember, in Molali houses are pretty close together, and there's not enough space for big structures of water tanks. I also would like to ask you, how much water do you use for what? I would suggest you do a water audit. How many liters of water do you drink? How much for cooking? How much in your bathrooms and in your toilets? And see where you can save water, and see and come up with a figure as to how many liters of water you would need. Uh, that would give you a lot of design ideas, and that would give me a lot of ideas to um, help you out with. For example, one of the things that can be done is that you can go and get a plastic box fabricated that will sit along the edge of your house all around. That's one of the things we are planning to do for ourselves anyways. um, that will contain water. It's a 2 feet high, 2 feet wide tank, long one. You can use pipe racks, definitely racks of good 6-inch pipes, 6-inch diameter pipes, all connected appropriately. You can put them vertically or horizontally and create a pipe rack and store water in it. You can store it in such a way that it is directly connected to all the taps and pipes in your house. um, yeah, that's pipe racks seems to be one of the good ideas. You can have community water storage. That's a good one. Probably the cheapest one. You can have a um, 2 or 3 houses getting together to do it, with the space between the houses, etc. You can buy metal tanks, all of that, but that's a bit more expensive. Excellent. Regarding gabions, I think Yuva Pratap might not know, or might know, I'm not really sure. A gabion is a pile of rocks in a stream. It comes from the word, as far as I know, the word ghabia, which means a rock, I guess. As far as I remember. It's basically a pile of rocks which allow water to flow through. That's the basic idea behind a gabion. But since there are rocks, they trap the sediment. And by trapping the sediment, we can create we can use a gabion for various purposes. For getting good soil in a desert situation, getting fine silt. It's a nice silt trap, a gabion, not just a water storage system. You can keep on harvesting soil from a gabion. Actually, Jeff Lawton does that. As far as I heard, it was one of the ideas anyways. Whether he's actually doing it or not, I'm not really sure, but it's one of the ideas thrown around in the Greening the Desert project, um, that Jeff Lawton mentions. is to harvest good soil from the gabion. It produces good soil, at least initially, for setting up gardens and stuff like that. Awesome. Yo Pratap knows about gabions. Excellent. Anil, are you there? Anything else we need to discuss? Any other questions? Or shall I go on to the next module, the third module of PDC? Yeah, one good point. Knowing things is easy, but implementing them is difficult. Absolutely. Absolutely, Pratap. You have said it right. As permaculturists, we know about stuff. And we do know uh, where and why and how to do things. But when we actually go to implement it, we will come to know a lot more. And we often, very, very often, ideas are changed. Design ideas are changed. I mean, it's an iterative process. Permaculture design doesn't happen overnight. And usually we end up with modifications in the plan to suit the requirements of implementation without of course without spoiling the original um, intent of the design. Now if we permaculture designers are the people who understand civil engineers, we understand architects, we understand hunger, we understand energy systems, we understand all these things, but we might not be experts in any one of those. I can tell you where and how to put a road on a farm or in a village, but I need an engineer. I will go talk to an expert, and I will coordinate between a horticulture expert, a microbacteria expert, and a street and road building civil engineer. I can do that. I am the coordinator and the designer, and they are also designing aspects of my design, and then we go through the process over again and do it in such a way that the whole system design is ethical. That's the role of a permaculture designer. We are not necessarily master gardeners, we are not necessarily master rainwater harvesting experts. No, we are people who know enough regarding enough stuff to coordinate things. I don't know how to drive a bulldozer. That's not the point of it. Oh, just I'm sitting in Sai's house here for this talk, and I just came to know that there's a snake in my house. I came out of my house, so the snake went in, probably hoping to meet me. It didn't know that I was on in an online class. Did anybody catch it? Just identified. Ekkada? Where is it? Ekkada? No idea. Right, right. Nagapam, Cobra. Whatever. Yeah. Anyways, Some one of the boys will go and coordinate. Not a problem. Right. Going ahead with the module. The third module is talks about methods of design, methods and methodologies of design. We use various methods to help us arrive at designs. As I was talking about it earlier in the second module, there's an understanding of how to look at resources and yields. But when we come to designing the stuff, all those concepts are taken. We know the priorities. We understand how to prioritize the requirements. The client says, I want a house and I want a swimming pool and I want a farm and I want a playground. Now what is the first thing we should implement? How to arrive at that priority list, which is the best one? If you are planning to build a mud house, then making the swimming pool is a good idea, because you'll get all the mud required for the house. You got the point? When we do it the right way, we start utilizing the available earth resources as part of the establishment plan. So in methods, it is simple things like this. How to arrive at these given a scenario, how to look at various elements and look at their inputs and outputs, how to audit a system, audited for the most beneficial selection of elements, how to select the elements and then apply them, and the time scales and relationship between elements. There is a positive negative chart that we make, there is an element analysis that we make. We study textbooks, we look at local histories, there is how to look at stuff. What are the factors to consider in design? We consider climate to be one of the biggest ones, slope, orientation, the existing resources on site, the soil type, the client requirements, the most appropriate thing to do in terms of the local ecology and local biosphere. um, Given a farm, you can design a good vegetable system, good forest, good animal system. Yeah, probably you can do all three on the same piece of farm, but which one is the most beneficial for the client as well as for the local biosphere, and which one to give priority to? That's how we look at things. It is one thing to say moringa, the magic tree, and we'll put it. Yeah, it is a magic tree. No disrespect to moringa, but if you put too many moringas, you will kill off the market and you'll kill off the neighbor's livelihood resource. If your neighbor has enough moringas to feed all of you, maybe you should plant something else that feeds your neighbor, and maybe you can start a good sharing system. All those things we need to consider when we're designing. So methods kind of gives you an overview of looking at inputs, outputs, requirements, listing them, making random assemblies, and a ton of other concepts. And based on that, we start approaching the design the right way. We start considering the scale of permanence. We start considering the priority in terms of, for example, Jeff Lawton mentions water access structures in his video. That's one of the ways we look at a farm. We analyze a given farm in a particular way. We first look at, for example, all the possible sites for a pond. We look at all the possible sites for a good swale, and then we will start analyzing each one of those as to which one is where the best. There are all these concepts of you start designing at one end and end up in the other. Yeah, that is true, but that's not all. We start on the ridge and design to the valley. We also start to design the mainframe. We also do bottom up approach. We also start design from our doorstep, and all these things put together gives the final design. Bill Mollison says in one place that you cannot design a system if you did not observe it long enough. And in another part of the lesson, he says that he walked to a farm and sat at the coffee table. And while he had to go to the house, he had to walk through the farm, and that was it. When the woman asked for a permaculture design, he says, I already have a design, I have designed your property. And he goes on to talk to her as to how he designed it and what she should do. Both are true. Both are true. The first one is called an establishment, a preliminary design, a mainframe design, where you do it quickly and efficiently and for the most basic priority list. Then you go on refining and refining and refining, and it is a never-ending process, because in permaculture the yields are endless. The more people system becomes complex, the more yields start appearing. The more animal systems become mature, the more yields start occurring. So it's not a one-time design, it's not none of that. So in the third module, that's what we understand. We start to understand the concept of design. Then in the fourth one, my favorite chapter, patterns, we come up to the chapter patterns. Patterns are, you know, if anybody can teach or understand, for that matter, patterns, they are they have a beautiful advantage in terms of thinking about and understanding the situation and coming up with the right answer. There are many people who don't get it. I don't say that I'm an expert in patterns, but when you understand it, right? Some people find mathematics difficult, but some other students don't. It doesn't make one person better than the other. It's just that something clicked inside their head that they can follow theorems and stuff like that, whereas some other student in the same classroom might find that difficult. So for me, patterns just clicked. The first time I heard it kind of lingered for about a couple of years before it just slammed down, bang. And now it is one of the biggest tools I use whenever I'm looking at any problem, whether it is people system, whether it is education system, whether it is any problem. Patterns is one of my fundamental approaches to design. It kind of helps a lot. Not that I don't use other methods, but patterns kind of gives an overview for me. What is the best way to spread permaculture? Somebody asks. Immediately my mind starts thinking about patterns of information flow and patterns of is it a pyramid pattern that we should follow, or is it a flat pattern, or is it a multi-connection pattern? Should we do it in such a way that there are experts on each module, or this or that? That's the way the mind starts to think. Patterns is my favorite chapter, where we start thinking about flows, mediums, effect of one medium over the other, and what kind of pattern it creates. What are the natural patterns in the world, and how, by understanding the natural patterns, we can use them for our own advantage. Um, that's the fourth module, and by the time most students are like starry-eyed, slightly intimidated, and slightly confused. And that's when we know that we have started digging deep. Then comes the fourth module, the overall climate, discussion on different climates, what makes it different, and that's an essential concept. The fertility in a tropical system is not and cannot be held very successfully in the soil. You have to hold it in the life above the soil, at least 50% of it. A lot of it is in the forms of trees, plants. You deforest something, you have lost fertility. Because of the place we are, we get year-long sunlight, and things are pumping out nutrients from the ground all the time, pumping out water all the time. We have forests that hold water, that hold moisture, that are hot inside. You can't walk through a mango farm. It's pretty hot and sultry inside. But if you take that off, all that moisture is lost. It goes off. So in a tropical situation, it's the tree systems that are more important than soil per se. Yeah, soil is also important, soil building is also important, soil health is also important, but it doesn't stay there. It simply is going kind of against the basic functionality of systems here. We get fertility by growing things, not by decomposing things in tropics. It's kind of a way we think. We have, for example, why do we have the biggest diversity of nitrogen fixes in the world? Tropics have the biggest diversity of nitrogen fixing plants and trees because the nitrogen doesn't stay in the ground. It doesn't stay in adequate quantities in the ground. Yeah, it does stay. When I say it doesn't stay, I mean in a cyclical sense, in a holistic sense. Plants need to fix nitrogen, and plants that fix nitrogen are favored in tropical systems because we are in tropics. So in the climates modules, we look at temperate tropics and what is important, what happens, what is the default behavior of animals, default behavior of plants, what kinds of plants, all of that in the climates lesson. And this is one of, again, my favorite, my review, the chapter just blew my mind out. The next chapter is after climates, we look at trees, right? No, we look at landscapes. There are humid landscapes, there are arid landscapes, there are particular qualities of them, there are particular ways we should approach them. So we look at landscapes like that, we look at things like rain shadow, we look at coastal areas, we look at continents, we look at whole gamut of landscapes. After that we go into trees and understanding trees, and then we go into the whole module about trees is pretty amazing and pretty required. Until the end of that module, people really do not understand why there needs to be at least a 30% biomass of the farm must be in trees, if not more. 30% of the area should be in trees sometimes, in tropics, at least 15% in water. You can increase your yield by doing that. You can increase your productivity by doing that. People do not really get the point of it about trees until we actually get to trees. That module is pretty good. The same module contains the structure of a forest, types of forests, the way forests function, trees and their energy transactions is what the module is called. The way it transacts energy with wind, the way trees deal with rain, the way trees, forests deal with rain, what happens when how does the wind work in a forest, all those things. Because once we understand that, we really know what to do in terms of planting trees on our farm, whether we should plant what type of trees on the swale, in the swale, before the swale, all that stuff. Then the next module is soil or water. You can teach either one of them. We tend to teach soil. I think in the permaculture design manual it's soil. We teach soil and soil basics, soil understanding, building soil, various types of compost is discussed about, various types of soils all around the world is discussed about, soil constituents, soil testing, different minerals and the pH in which different minerals are available for the plants, and blah blah blah, the whole thing. It's a good topic, good deep topic, but it quickly gets into what we need to do. Rather than analysis of soil, we go into remediation of soil. So it's kind of people like it when they are taught how to make compost, or how to make compost tea, or all those techniques. Personally, I'm not that kind of a person. I'm more of a theory type of a person. So it's kind of the relaxation, the zen kind of a module for me. I can sit there and gets into my mind. It's easy to, whereas the patterns was like buzzing. The questions and the answers that come up in the mind as we are going through that module are, it's crazy when you read that in the book. But soils is, okay, 3.5 pH, okay, 4.5 pH, okay, goes on. It's more of an information kind of thing. Then comes water harvesting strategies, water reuse, water cycle, grey water management, rainwater management, black water treatment, then water harvesting strategies, uses of water, functions of water. Water is a cooling agent, as a growing medium, is a cleaning agent, is a transport agent, it's a life-giving agent. What happens to water as it flows down through the riparian zone, starting in the mountains all the way to the sea, and what happens in the delta, different types of water, different sources of water, soil building in water, uh, all of that in the water module. Let me see if there are any other questions. Is there anybody, or am I talking to myself? There are 7 people, 7 viewers. I would love it if everybody just says hi once again, so that I know who is listening and who is not. Sai is here. I am sitting actually in Sai's room. Sai Prasanna Kumar. Now he has got a different laptop and sitting and watching there as if he is in a different city. This talk is supposed to be me and him doing it, but he is kind of feeling sleepy and he doesn't want to talk, it seems. Therefore, he's not coming in front of the camera, and I'm sitting in front of a big wardrobe talking all by myself. If everybody is listening, oh yeah, Mahesh is there, Pratap is there. I'm not sure whether there is a. Oh yeah, Sudhir Ranjan Mandalji seems to be missing in action. Anil Shanai seems to be missing in action. My goodness. Anil, please be there, because what I'm talking is hugely useful to you as far as I think. Uh, really like the enthusiasm of Anil and really want to make this somehow useful to him. All right, I was talking about water module. After water, we go to earthworks. Earthworks, how and earth resources that the earth provides. There we talk of dams, ponds, construction of farm ponds, the requirement to construct medium scale, small scale, tiny scale, large scale dams, the futility of huge hydrological projects. We talk of a bit about we do talk of swales, we do talk of diversion drains, we talk of gabions, we talk of sand dams, we talk of various things we can do with us. We talk of earth building, earth storage. So that's the soil module. Then after earthworks, we have an option of going 2 ways. We can go for 2 days on tropical and 1 day on temperate. We can it's called climatic design factors, whereby we take design as it applies to different climates. For example, in most PDCs, cold climates are discussed extensively, or all the climates are discussed pretty much equally. We try to do it a bit more for this PDC, a bit more India centric, probably 1 or 2 or maybe 3, 2 days, 1 or 2 days, purely on the kind of climates we have and kind of situations we have in India and how design applies to that. Should you have your food forest by the side of your house or not? On what side is more beneficial? And if it's on the wrong side, what should you do? All that stuff comes in design factors, climatic design factors. After that, we go into people systems. We talk of degraded land, we talk of urban scenarios in the middle, we talk of gardening, various types and strategies in gardening, and then we go to people systems. So that is what happens in a PDC. Now that I have covered almost all the modules of PDC. Oh, Sudhiranjanji is here. Excellent. You can see that all the critical aspects of design are being covered in this? Oh, we cover alternate technology. We talk of solar, we talk of water based technologies, ram pumps, pulsar pumps, this and that. Go through a bunch of alternate technologies, and most importantly, how to use them in a design sense. Do you design a farm where you can drive around in a solar mobile, or do you design a farm that is more of hand rickshaw, or do you design a farm that is more based on ox carts and horse wagons and stuff like that? Which one is the most appropriate technology to use? That's what we discuss in alternate technologies. How to look at technology per se as it fits, and what are the available technologies that most people don't know about. Some critical technologies as they apply to India will be discussed, and of course some technologies that are useful worldwide. For example, last in one of my PDCs, one of my students came up with a good design. Actually, I was mentioning it during the PDC, but that girl picked it up and wrote it down and put it in her design work, which was a small stove, which is a stove which works as an outdoor stove and an internal heater based on the season which you are using it in, and how you are using it, and when you are using stick fuel and coal fuel, etc. And it doesn't pollute. It's based on a technology called Kakelhofen, stick oven in German, Kakelhofen. It is a modified version of that, and yeah, alternate technologies like that, where a handful of sticks can give you so much heat, etc. Rocket stoves and all of that. Oh yeah, Yuva Pratap, that's a very good idea. Using waste cool drink bottles to grow food. It's a good one. So that is what happens in a PDC, and you can see what anybody will get out of a good PDC. There are bad PDCs. There are a ton of them, a bunch of them actually, where people just sing songs and talk of a lot of nonsense. They make permaculture a kind of a metaphysical woo-woo kind of a thing, and they talk of companion planting as if it is something else. No, it's a functional design relationship, and that's what companion planting is. And no need to give it more of a magical aura that you put beans along with your millets, or and it grows good. No, it doesn't. No, it will not. Because how much nitrogen do you think a bean plant will put in, and how much nitrogen do you think the other plant needs? You need an active soil biology existing, and you need to find the appropriate ratios. You need to find the appropriate planting pattern. Yeah, that's the meat of the stuff. That's the juice of it. And then who is going to harvest it, and how do they harvest it, and when do they harvest it, and all of that, right? There are these PDCs where people play ball games all through the day. I have some of my students attended some stupid PDCs like that, and we are vexed. And that's one of the reasons that I am doing PDCs. One of the main reasons that I am doing PDCs. The other is that I feel obliged towards Bill Mollison. He did such awesome work, and it'll be very, very absurd and obscene on my part for not doing PDCs. If there are good enough teachers doing stuff outside all around the place, I don't mind not teaching at all. It's not easy to teach 12 long days and then keep up with your students afterwards, and try to make sure that you stick with your students till they start getting confidence in the system, and till they mature. It's not an easy job. And if there are other designers and teachers who are willing to do that, who are good enough, yeah, I am pretty much willing to just go around setting up examples, or probably go into teaching kids. Today I was talking to a little kid about permaculture, and I was pumped up about it. I loved talking to 8-year-old, 10-year-old. How much is Ananya here? 8, right? 9. 8, 9. I loved speaking to her. I spoke with her for about 45 minutes, and she was like, amazed at what I was talking to her, and I loved that. I would like to do that, teach kids for 6 months, teach kids permaculture rather than do a PDC. So if there are enough designers who can do what I'm doing, I would be happy to make myself obsolete. So that's the reason I'm doing a PDC. Um, in one of the PDCs where my friend Upendra went to a PDC, and the teacher was recording everything that Upendra was saying in a cell phone so that he can listen and learn. I thought that's pretty awesome. It's not that I hate the teacher for doing that. It's just that I felt so happy that Upendra knew so much even before he went to a PDC, that the way we trained ourselves here for the last 5 years, 4 5 years, really paid off. The stuff that we were talking was so valuable that the PDC teacher recorded the stuff so that he can learn from it, from a student. I respect the teacher and what has happened. Knowledge is there for sharing and learning. The teacher, that was not a pretty good PDC by the standards that we set up. It was not a. I would not badmouth anybody, and permaculturists don't compete, but we can have pretty good PDCs. We can have PDCs where people are shown just one technique of paddy and azolla and a few nitrogen fixing plants, and I have got nonsense like that. That's bunch of nonsense. After when you come out of it, you'll know only that formula. That formula based permaculture which never works. People go everywhere and they say, oh, this is the formula, you do this 3 rows of paddy and 4 rows of this. No, that's not permaculture. That's part of permaculture, yes, of course. But formulas, there are experienced farmers out there who can give you better formulas, the formula than that. There are better ways of doing that. Don't fall for that stuff. It's not about how to do it, it's about why to do it. How to do it is the easiest one. There are books, there are tons of free books available online that tell you a lot of techniques. You probably would buy, we bought a ton of books, by the way. It's not just the free stuff. Lots of books we have purchased and went through. One of the books that I liked was F.H. King, Farmers of 40 Centuries. Yeah, some of the stuff that is happening are on Farmers of 40 Centuries by F.H. King. Pretty good book. If you can see, I don't know whether you can see it or not, various rice farming techniques and stuff like that is given. Ponds, Rodale book of composting. These are the stuff that we have in Sai source. There is I can see flora of Guntur district sitting right there. So yeah, lots of books. After reading all the books, you will know that it's not the techniques that you're after. It's not the species list that you're after. It's an understanding of what you want to do with those species, with those plants and trees that you're after, and that's what a PDC gives you. Yeah. Yeah, we are doing introduction programs. We are planning to do introduction programs to farmers. There are 3 places that are already booked. We are waiting for this PDC to get over so that we can go around. There are a bunch of farmers ready in Prakasam district. There are a bunch of farmers ready in Elur. Seemingly a few in Bangalore, but I need to really get around talking to I set up a curriculum for 4 days where the farmers become permaculture practitioners. They don't become designers, by the way, but they will get a hint of designing. But they will get a bunch of techniques, a bunch of important concepts, so that they can do farming better. But I need a lot of people helping me spread the word. It's not just me who can do that, because you need a support staff. After a person like me, or even one teacher teaches a group of farmers, there will be operational issues that come up, and we need somebody who can handle that. We do not have that kind of a manpower here, and we are struggling to get more designers under our belt to more students, more friends, so that we can do it much more smoothly. Yeah, as you are saying, Yuva Pratap, we are working out methods in which we can reach farmers. Yeah, we don't want to give them loose advice and leave them and then give permaculture bad name. We just want to do it right when we do it, and we need all the support we can get in doing that. I'm not talking about monetary support. I'm talking about knowledge support and communication support, etc. So that's what a PDC is, people. That's what a PDC should be, and that's what my PDC is. It's full blown and very very eager to teach it, because every time I revise the subject, it goes in, buries deeper in my heart, and seems much more natural for me to implement and much more purposeful. Kind of, it's more of a affirmation, where I am telling myself, while I'm telling the students, I am telling myself that permaculture is important, and I need to change every aspect of my life, my clothing and my this and that, into a more ecological way sooner than later. And it kind of revitalizes me and gives hope for the situations in the society. So we as humanity need more designers and more teachers, and we are planning an online PDC in Telugu. We are planning a weekend PDC in English and in Telugu. But I have to get going fast. I'm getting different responsibilities. 5 years of postponing stuff eventually builds up. I'm getting pulled up in all directions, and I don't know when my next PDC will be. I'm not really sure when my next full blown PDC will be. Probably this will be the final one for this year, maybe. Not really sure. But there are other things that are coming up. Work the size of Mount Everest is waiting for me to get a crack at it. So hoping that we get enough teachers, man. Need teachers. Need teachers. You come to me, I'll make you a good teacher. Not no two things about it. If you, of course, if you have public speaking fear and stuff like that, then you need to work yourself out. But in terms of knowledge and understanding, I can give you as good as anybody out there. Oh yeah, your Pratap, that is awesome. Krishna district, excellent. We can do stuff in Krishna district. Not a question. Which village are you from? Can everybody see me? Hear me? Need to keep checking because the internet connection might drop any moment. I think we are coming to the close, right? Half an hour more.
Yeah, half an hour.
Half an hour more is there? Anything specific you want me to talk? Yeah, by the way, people, please do spread the message about the PDC happening. There are two more things I need to address. Can I teach a PDC for free? Is a question I keep asking myself. And for all practical purposes, yes, I can. Personally, I don't need to make money on teaching a PDC personally. But once you start teaching a PDC for free, what ends up happening is what happened to all the good stuff in India. You are supposed to, you want to set up society, you have to do it voluntarily is kind of the attitude we have in India. And therefore many young people are having to choose between a profitable career or something like permaculture. It should not be an and or permaculture. Teaching permaculture, doing designs, doing consultancy, spreading the message, all of these things must be able to provide a good lifestyle for a person, to keep on doing this full time. And if I start doing stuff for free, although it doesn't personally hurt me, my even Sai and Upendra can do it for free. We are doing many other things for free. In fact, um, all the books my father wrote, I put it up online for free, and a bunch of other stuff for free. We keep on doing that. But I just don't want permaculture to end up in a place where people have to sacrifice everything to be a good permaculturist. We don't want that. I want permaculture to become a legitimate career. I want permaculture designing and teaching to be a stuff that will feed a family. And that's where I'm setting up my prices. That's what I request all my students. I request my students never to teach a PDC for free. Or if they have to do it, they have to do it. The reason must be that they are working with such a financially backward group of people. I don't mind people charging less for people who can't pay. If you are working with, say, very downtrodden people in a slum, yes, absolutely, no two things about it. I won't charge anything myself, or I would not like it if anyone else charges. But for people who own a laptop, the kind of knowledge we impart in a PDC is, people are spending so much on their degrees, on computer courses, and this and that. Relatively, we are quite inexpensive. 25,000 rupees in today's situations, and in the place we are, for a couple of weeks of food and accommodation and all of that, and paying the three teachers that are there, and for the materials that we need to procure for the PDC, etc. If somebody else is doing this, 25,000 should be reasonable. 18 to 25 should be a reasonable price, and I want to keep it at that. I want to do it for a cost. And my understanding is that if people value the knowledge, uh, I, I I don't think there should be too much of a problem for most of the people to pay. And I pay for with money or with effort or with both, and that's a genuine sign of respect towards something, especially knowledge. And free knowledge is that, just that, it's free knowledge. It's not really worth a honk. In most cases, yeah, there is good free knowledge out there. There are good books. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but um, I don't want permaculture to become more of a voluntary NGO kind of fluff where nothing happens ever. And nobody does that, because and every parent will tell their child not to become a permaculturist because they won't make any money. I'm not talking about making millions. I'm talking about making enough to feed a family. And a permaculture designer and a consultant must be able to do that. And therefore, it is one of my personal ethical principles not to teach a PDC for free. Therefore, I'm charging, and I will charge it. And most of my earlier students are doing great work. And one of my earlier students actually gave the fees for one scholarship. She said it is worth for people to learn this, and she gave me a fee. Actually, she gave me 15,000 rupees, which was the what I charged in the last PDC, and said teach one person for free, teach somebody who requires it for free. And I have already selected a person to teach that. So somebody who really can't pay, but somebody who's interested and who can take the whole thing forward. I have selected the person, and I am teaching. And that's the kind of value of the stuff we present in my PDC. So I'm not shirking away from the fact that the stuff I teach, and me and Sai and we teach in a PDC, easily worth 25,000 rupees. Not a question of that. There is actually a concern of underselling ourselves rather than anything else. But it being such a good subject, it needs to go out fast. So there has to be a nice pattern Yeah, we look at it in with pattern knowledge. If it is free, it tends to spread fast, but for a very short time. It's like Facebook. A post will stay up there for a month and then it's gone. It will be like that. It's a natural human pattern. Most news is like that. Most stuff is like that. Unless something has a deep emotional understanding, and unless there are dedicated people who sacrifice their lives to spread the message, nothing goes around and stays around for free. It has to be an exchange for it to sustain. It has to be an exchange, and in this case it's an exchange of money. If we can come up with some other kind of an exchange, I would be happy, in different scenarios, but that's the way it is. Uh, so I just wanted to say this online because so many of my friends are confused with the fact that I'm charging money for PDC. I am the kind of guy who wants to make all the schooling free. I'm the kind of guy who wants to, you know, did a lot of that kind of stuff where so it is kind of surprising for many people that we are collecting a fee for such a noble thing. But yeah, that's what I request, and that's what I hope everybody does. So, saying that, I think I am done with whatever I want to talk. Any other questions we can talk about it, or maybe I'll let Sai have a go at the camera for the last 20 minutes. Huh? Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Sai Prasanna Kumar is going to talk now. Um, many thanks for participating in this event on such a short notice. I created this at 11 o'clock, and you people came along. Thanks a lot for spending the time. Spread the word about permaculture, uh, and hopefully see you in APTC sometime soon. Here is Sai. Bye. Thanks, guys and girls.
Hi, I hope I'm audible because the internet is going a bit cranky. Okay, so the last thing that I would want to say is that we all need to be very aware of what is happening all around us, because one of the things that permaculture tries to bring about is that it makes the whole field a level playing field. And I see that there is a lot of disinterest in what is happening around us. I mean, there's being garbage being dumped here and there. We are using excessive borewell water. Forests are going down. Nobody seems to be really concerned about all these things. And let me tell you one thing, that this is not the kind of news which makes it to mainstream. Now, there is one aspect of Facebook that was being mentioned here right now, that the news on there is hot only for a few seconds or maybe a few minutes, maybe an hour or so. But there are a few good things about these kind of places, because you can come into contact with people who are being conscious. So I've been coming to know a lot of things which I would otherwise not have bothered about, because most of the news that I read is, I mean, usually I don't read news because it's usually the same thing. You can just keep on replacing one person with another. That's the same thing happens every 5 years or maybe every 2 years. It's just like I mean, just like some of the comedy shows that we see, that you can replace anybody with anybody and essentially nothing changes. But the point that I think which we all need to be a bit careful of is that the silence that is being shown by the people should not be taken as affirmation by those who are setting up the rules and those who are having the authority. And they should be and I think that there is a need to take permaculture to the decision makers as well. So don't think that it is never think that permaculture is an individual effort. Permaculture starts with the principle of cooperation. If the point is to have competitors out there, then the whole thing just doesn't make sense, right? There's not The point is, and Bill Mollison makes it abundantly clear that just like we don't fight during the times of natural disaster. So, for example, in Vizag, we had Hudhud cyclone, and there was a huge calamity. I'm hoping that people were not fighting over that. Everybody was trying to help each other person, and that is the kind of situation that we are in right now uh, on the planet Earth. So it's maybe we have formed divisions for some or the other sake, but Earth does not see it like that, and so we all also need to get our act together, because the last module in permaculture is strategies for an alternate nation. And I really like the fact that way back in 1980, 1970, 1980, Bill Mollison came up with this fact that people who have similar ideology need not be staying at the same region to have the concept of nation. So understand that it's a what would I say? I could call it a revolution. I could call it an act of community, or whatever word I use. It's basically all of us working together, and the point of I mean, one being better or one not being up to the mark, or all those things. All those things need to be ironed out. They all need to be. Uh, those edges need to be smoothened as soon as possible, because the knowledge of permaculture, if it is not spread uh, at a rapid fire pace, what is going to happen is that it is also going to become ineffective. We have some good things happening right now, and that is why the movement in itself can go forward. So remember that, and that is one of the reasons why there was a request by DJ and by me that try to spread the word around, because we want people to know what permaculture is. And just to end it, permaculture is not just farms, not just agriculture, not just setting up gardens and all that, because I still feel that many people have this doubt that it is about setting up food abundance. We are looking at abundance, we are looking at human settlements. Keep that in mind. And when we are trying to create human settlements, we are actually uh, starting from a scratch, because whatever we have right now uh, is not simply applicable. So with this, I would just like to close this session. Thanks all of you for joining us. As DJ was saying, it was at a very short notice. There are a few links which I have been posting on Facebook. It seems that Google will not allow me to post those links as a part of the chat. So I hope most of you do know that we are running a Facebook page called Gardens of Abundance. Gardens of Abundance. So there I'll be updating some of the must-watch things that you should be seeing, be reading, so that you understand what permaculture is all about. And DJ has created a beautiful playlist of what he calls perma must-watch, because those are essential for understanding what permaculture is. So on that note, let me again thank you. One more thing, if anybody requests another session, we will do it. Yeah, and I'm not sure whether you could hear that or not, but DJs and we both feel that if anybody requires any other session at any time, just let us know. If you are free, we'll be doing it at that point of time, or we could, of course, schedule a time where most of the people are free. So in case you find difficulty in convincing people as to what permaculture is, just give it a shot, so that let us have a shot, so that we can convince them better, because as we are saying, permaculture needs to spread as much as possible. So thanks for joining us. Bye.